Welcome to Drinks in the Library, the only library where drinks aren't just allowed, they are required. I'm your librarian host, Gigi Howard, and each episode I'll be interviewing a guest about a much-loved book that we will be pairing with a drink for you to enjoy along with us or consider for your next book club meetup. As always, stay curious and support your local library. Hello, Libration Nation. The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning historical narrative that chronicles the Great Migration, the decades-long exodus of nearly 6 million Black Americans fleeing the oppressive Jim Crow South for northern and western cities. Wilkerson captures the immersive scale of this demographic shift through intimate, intertwined biographies of three individuals, Ida Mae Gladney, George Starling, and Robert Foster, who relocated during different eras and to different destinations. My guest this week is Adriana, the creator behind Bring Me Books, a literary platform dedicated to amplifying Black literature, nonfiction, and stories that challenge the way we think. She has built a community of more than 45,000 readers who believe that books are more than entertainment. They're tools for liberation, critical thinking, and meaningful conversation. As the founder of Truth Club, her signature nonfiction book recommendation series, Adriana curates thought-provoking recommendations that encourage readers to think more critically about history, culture, politics, identity, and the world around them. Go find her on Instagram at Bring Me Books. I had an incredible conversation with her and so appreciate her bringing the warmth of other suns to Drinks in the Library. All right, our drink this week is a sun tea, which is iced tea that you brew in the sun. Directions are in the notes and also on my Instagram. Just a heads up, sun tea can be a little tricky to make. Be very careful and use clean equipment. All right, one last thing, Drinks in the Library is now on Patreon. Our very first Patreon-only episode is up, Dungeon Crawler Carl. It was a lot of fun to record that one, and I'm excited to share it just with our Patreon members for now. All right, let's get to it. All right. Hi, Adriana. I am so excited to be with you here tonight. How are you?
I'm doing great. Phenomenal just to be here and in this space.
Yeah, I know. And you're someone that loves books just like me. And so when you said you wanted to talk about, and I've got it here, I'm going to just hold it up, The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. I was so excited because it was number 2 on the New York Times list of
Mhm.
like the top books of the 21st century, and I hadn't gotten to it yet. And I was like, all right, this is my chance. So
That's awesome.
And I know you said you've read it many moons ago, but now again. So, but who were you when you first picked this up?
Oh my goodness. I was a younger version of myself. And so I think I was in like a time period of wanting to learn more about history and American history, one. But then I think oddly enough, I also wanted to learn more about my family's history. And so while I knew we migrated from Mississippi, I wasn't quite sure how this story, if at all, was going to relate to me. And so I think I was in like this weird trying to figure out Adriana's background kind of space. And so
Okay.
it was really nice to just learn a lot more of what that time period looked like for a lot of folks.
Yeah. Well, were you able to like go and talk to parents or relatives about that experience?
I have not just yet. My family, I don't know about if your family's the same way. Like all the elders, they're very, very tight-lipped and they don't want to say anything. And all the like young folks are just supposed to believe life was a bunch of roses until you hit like a certain age and they're like, okay, we'll let you in on all the secrets. So I have not talked to them about it just yet, but I know once I sit down with my older family, they'll be able to just give a little more light around what that migration for them looked like, the good, the bad. And so yeah, I think one day soon, I'll open up that can of worms.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was listening to Isabel Wilkerson talk about writing this, and she had the
Mhm.
same thing with her mother, who would not open up about the
Mhm.
experience at all until she started writing the book. So,
Yeah,
same for you. Well, talking about it a little bit more,
yeah.
what drew you into this story?
Yeah, well, one, I'm a super nonfiction girly, like
Okay.
nonfiction all the way. And so that often takes people by surprise. I think most readers, and I don't have any data to back this up whatsoever, but I think most readers enjoy fiction. And so when people are like, when people hear that I like to read nonfiction, it's just like, wait, what? That's kind of boring. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's real stuff that happened. Like, this is actually even more interesting. It's not made up. But needless to say, I love Isabel Wilkerson and all of her earlier work, and all of her other work. And then so once I found out that, Warmth of Other Suns was nonfiction and it was about a piece of me where I could learn a little bit more about, I was like, I'm all for it. Here we go. And as you know, she's thick. She's about I have no idea how many pages she is, but
it's
a lot.
It's like 500. But the thing is to know is that I think, okay, it's like 600, but I think like at least 100 of that is like the index and notes and things like that. So, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's what do they call it? A door stopper.
Yeah, honestly, like you put this in front of anything, and it's coming to a full stop. But no, yeah, I really enjoy nonfiction, and so I think what tied me to me was one, the historical background, and then diving into a genre that I deeply enjoy.
Yeah. And then I guess talking about the characters a little bit and some of the stories within the book. I know there's 3 sort of protagonists. Do you want to talk about them?
Oh my goodness. They are my favorite. I love when a nonfiction book goes into just like different perspectives of a time period. Another book that did that really well was When Crack Was King.
Oh, okay.
But it goes through the crack epidemic in the Black community. And he goes through just so beautifully. But needless to say, Isabel does a beautiful, beautiful job of talking about George, Ida, and Robert. Ida is, I think she almost feels like a grandma-like figure to me. She comes from, oh my goodness, wait. I wrote it down somewhere. She comes from Mississippi. To keep track of it all is insane. Annotating is the best. She comes from Mississippi to Chicago. And that is where my family migrated from, Mississippi. And so in some weird, twisted world, she and I are related because she feels so motherly. And so her story spoke to me a lot. And then there was George, who was worked in the orange groves and talked about how he migrated from Louisiana to Los Angeles and what that transition was about. And I think if a younger person may pick this up, I think one of the stories that they'll connect most with is Robert's. And Robert was, obviously, as you know, the doctor, right? He is this doctor and he is headstrong and he is Black excellence, but obviously goes to Jim Crow and all of those things. And so I think that there'll be a good connection for especially like the eager young community that strives to be successful. What does success look like for your demographic? What might be some obstacles that you still face that you try to escape from? Because I think we all come with privileges and we all come with things that we need to face, whether it's being a woman, whether it's being, of a different gender, multiple demographics, being neurodivergent or neurotypical, like you can run the gambit. So what does it look like to pursue success in face of all of these barriers? And so I think that that'd be a character that most folks will relate to, but mine would be Ida.
Ida. Yes, for sure. Do you think before reading this book, were you as aware of some of the stuff that went on with the Great Migration as like the book kind of depicts?
No. No.
Same. I mean, I heard about it in school, but this like spells it out for you.
Like literally, and I think that's why I love Isabel's work, because she makes it feel like, oh, I can follow this, like, oh, I can learn from this, and it's not going over my head. And again, similarly, in school, they might have talked about it, they might have brushed upon it. And, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and that is a city that has historically been put on a pedestal for being one of the stops during the Great Migration. So like I knew a lot of people came from the South and headed to Newark, hence why it's such a Black population, but I didn't know like a lot. And then once Isabel spelled it out, and I was like, oh, this is why they left. Oh, this is what the transition was like. Oh, this is what, when they thought they were getting to this dream this magical place of the North. This was the reality that they faced, and it was not bubble gum and fairies once they got up here. And so it made everything a lot more clear.
Yeah. I think something for me, and it's heartbreaking to read about, is just how much of it was an intentional trying to keep Black people in the South down. In that Jim, it sounds so stupid being like, it's Jim Crow. I didn't realize it was that bad.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, it was intentional racist laws and actions to people to try to keep them back. And I mean, there's a lot of instances in the book. Do you have any particular moments that you think people would want to know about?
Moment in particular, there's one moment in particular that it was Robert, where he recognizes that while he may be extremely successful and a doctor, they would only let him draw blood. And he was like, wait, I worked all hard for this and I've done all these things, and like all you want me to do is draw blood. And he did say he'll go on and be the best person to draw blood that there ever was. So he took pride in the opportunity, but I think that was really eye-opening for me. And then I think there was another moment where in which George, he experienced watching a man get lynched that was like, whoa, I can work as hard as I want to work, but until I escape the South, that will be me one day. And so he also has like this, no, I have to go now moment. But I think to your earlier point around this battle in between like folks' feelings around Jim Crow and folks' feelings around like fleeing, like, yeah, things were that bad, but there were also some Black people who were like, so you just gonna get up and leave? So you just gonna get up and walk away? And it's just like, it was this battle that folks had to go through, even amongst the race, of not seeming like you're just surrendering and you're just going off to up north. And so I think that, not only did other people on the outside look at like, oh snap, why are you making a decision? Or like, what is happening here? There were also people within the demographic, within the diaspora that were like, so you just gonna leave? And they were like, yeah, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah. What do you think that says about like their humanity, about having to make this hard choice within a hard choice where you don't feel like you're winning no matter what you do?
Yeah, I think one of the quotes that comes to mind for me in this idea is that even when you escape, there are still internal and social struggles that just don't disappear. Mm-hmm. And so I think that many of them went off for this dream. And I think, oh my goodness, I'm going to get like crucified if I don't remember the person who quoted this, but a dream deferred. I think it's Langston Hughes.
Okay. I think so.
Yeah, Langston Hughes, talked about a dream deferred. And he's just, and then I think many of them are like, they're chasing this dream and then they realize this dream isn't what it's all cracked up to be. I think the internal struggles or the backlash that they might have faced from their community about just leaving, that didn't even surmount even closely to the realities that they were facing every day. So I think they just had to kind of like weigh out their pros and cons and say, I'm ready to escape by any means necessary. Because even that commute was horrendous.
Oh yeah. Talk about the drive across country a little bit. He couldn't stop.
Yep. He couldn't stop. And I think one of the other commutes that I remember was, I can't remember, but it was one of their commutes on the train. Mm-hmm. And they were thinking they were headed to New York. Mm-hmm. And once they were on the train in this hot, sweaty car, packed with a bunch of kids, packed with a bunch of luggage, they've been going for hours, and they finally hear the conductor say, Newark. And they actually landed in Newark, New Jersey. I think it was like one of those like, what? This journey is insane moment. Because when you're so tired and, the conductor has an accent or for whatever reason, New York could easily sound like Newark. And for that to be, that was like an aha moment for me. I was like, oh, amongst other reasons, that's why there was a lot of Black people in the city of Newark, New Jersey. But yeah, I'm not sure if you've ever been to Newark, New Jersey, but it has been a community that's underserved for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
But it is like obviously full of life and full of beauty, and there's so many phenomenal things that happen there. But that travel for them, that's why many Black people just, I don't want to say accidentally, but I accidentally ended up in Newark, New Jersey.
It's a great place.
It is.
Well, and so, like I said, I had listened to a little bit of Isabel Wilkerson talking about, and so I was saying that it was Robert, right? He takes the drive to California, and he can't stop. Even outside of the South, he can't get a hotel room. There's nowhere for him to stop, and so he has to drive the whole way without stopping, which is like horrendous and heartbreaking and terrifying and all of those things. But I found out listening to her, she did the same. She wanted to recreate it.
Wow.
So she drove, Isabel Wilkerson drove from, I guess, Louisiana to LA. Or at least she said she tried to, because she said she took her parents, and then eventually her parents were like, okay, this is too dangerous. You either let us out of the car.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, what an amazing thing for her to do, to experience that.
No, honestly, I can't even drive a couple of hours from Jersey to DC. So there's that. Like, hats off to them for the things that they endured, whether it was a tight train car, whether it was a cross-country travel. Literally, that's why I love nonfiction so much, because it literally is like, what just happened? And it's real.
Right.
It's real.
It is. And I guess talking about nonfiction and the story, like we just said, it's like such a huge book, but like, what's the vibe of the book? Would you say it's serious? I'm going to let you take this one.
It depends on the reader. For me, it felt like going home. It felt really nostalgic because knowing that my family had migrated from Mississippi. Maybe for someone who doesn't have any like family ties to the Great Migration, it could feel incredibly like informative. I think that's what they say most nonfiction. Incredibly informative. But yeah, for me, if you, or for anyone, I think if you have any kind of ties to the South or the migration at all, I think it could feel incredibly nostalgic.
And talking about Isabel Wilkerson a little bit, what do we know about her?
Oh my goodness, there's so many things. I also have up here, I was not ready for this one, but I also have up here Cast.
Okay. Yeah.
Loved Cast. Love this one. This one talks about the caste system and how it came to be and how we continuously perpetuate it. And so I haven't yet the opportunity to meet her.
Okay.
I did meet the author of the 1619 Project, but
really?
My goal one day, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, wild stuff. And my goal one day is to meet Isabel Wilkerson. Like, I don't know if you're familiar, but many folks say, like, this is Beyonce's internet. Like, they like jokingly say that. And I said, no, this is Isabel Wilkerson's internet. Like, she is my Beyonce. She's my Beyonce. So I don't know too much about her personal life, but I just know she's a phenomenal author who writes really great things and definitely deserves all her flowers for like the greatest of our time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know she won the Pulitzer for Cast.
Yeah.
I was like looking back, I feel like this book should have gotten, I mean, it got a lot of accolades, but I feel like it should have gotten like more awards.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing interesting when you go back and they have like that New York Times, like the best books of the century. I think that is probably a more accurate list than those like every year, like the National Book Awards, because sometimes it fades over time. And this one has grown over time, I think. Yeah,
I think that I joke with some like the folks who follow me on Instagram. I'm like, you guys come up with some of the better lists than some of these Goodreads lists. Like, no shade to anyone else, but some of these lists just scream other things. And so both of those books truly do deserve all of their flowers. They were phenomenal pieces of work. I would hold them to the same as, I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Ibram X. Kendi's work. He's phenomenal. But yeah, like those
Yeah.
are one and the same to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think honestly, this story, I think it explains a lot about like what we're going through today
Mm.
and how we got here, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And I think that's why I also love to read nonfiction.
Mhm.
Am a firm believer. If you know better, then you can do better. And
Yes.
so that's why I like often read nonfiction is I don't want to make the same mistakes. I don't want history to repeat itself in this sense. In fashion, that's okay. But not not in this sense. So when I see certain things happening in the world, I'm like, ooh, this feels familiar, not familiar to my lifetime, but this feels familiar to a book that I've read. And I often say, because I'm like this, I think I'm like a social justice advocate, that I was either born before in the 1960s, I was born before in the 1930s. But then I say, I don't think I'll be able to live through the prohibition and the alcohol and all those things. So I have to be able to drink. So I think I was born in the 1960s. Wild
Yes.
time.
No, I love that. Isn't that a Maya Angelou quote? If you know better, if
I don't know who quoted it, but I'm sure.
I think we're gonna go with it. If I'm wrong, I'll just
Yeah.
edit it out.
Yeah. That's all right. No, yeah, you know better, you do better. I mean, I read a lot of nonfiction. I don't know
Mhm.
if you can see anything up there, from nonfiction about health to nonfiction about history. It's just kind of like my go-to. It's good, comfy
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I kind of want to ask you since you brought it. So, what got you into reading?
My mom,
Oh,
yeah, my mom was a big reader. And so when she was like vacuuming around the house, like she would have like a book in her hand.
really?
Ridiculous. When she was on the couch, my mom used to smoke cigarettes too. And so
Okay.
if you see in the whole picture, there's that. But she does not smoke anymore. God thank
Good.
Jesus.
Mhm.
And so I was just like grew up in like this like loungy like black woman with her cigarette and her book, just like reading. I'm like, ooh, that's so cool. I never smoked cigarette, but I'm
Uh-huh.
like, ooh, that's so cool. And so I wanted to like emulate that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I began emulating that like sneakily, because I would like read her stuff and I was because that was not for children.
Okay.
But yeah, once I was able to read my own stuff at my own appropriate age,
Uh-huh.
um, that's really what allowed me to dive into reading. Nonfiction is a whole nother beast.
Yeah. I also wanted to bring up because you brought up drinks. We're having our drinks. Cheers. Yeah. So mine is a sun tea. I have to tell you, I don't think I told you this before we started recording. Part of the reason I suggested sun tea is not only it's southern,
Right.
sun is in the title, but I learned about it from Meghan Markle's like home show. Have you watched that?
No.
It's just so like it's like one of those like warm, cozy things. She's always like making focaccia bread or being like, here is an
Oh.
easy way to make something that's not very easy for most people.
That
But
is funny.
I loved it when it came on, so I would just sit and watch it and it would just feel cozy. And she talked about making sun tea.
Yeah.
And I just love her. And then I was thinking about like, okay, so she grew up in LA and her mom, Doria, I'm
Mhm.
sure there's some kind of great migration connection to that
Yeah.
as well. So
Yeah.
anyway,
No, the sun tea is super tasty. I'm having sunset citrus with
uh-huh.
some orange flavors in here.
Yeah.
And obviously, again, another play on the title. But after reading George's story and you find out that he worked on an orange grove and how taxing and laboring that is, you kind of want to never eat an orange again. But I decided I decided to go with it for the sake of today. So this is an ode to Mr. George.
Yay, Mr. George. So we brought up the title just now, The Warmth of Other Suns. I'm sure people who haven't read the book are curious about the title, and I was wondering if you would talk to us about it and then maybe read the poem. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
No,
I thought that was really important.
I got you. Okay. I was leaving the South to fling myself into the unknown. I was taking a part of the South to transplant an alien soil, to see if it could grow differently, if it could drink of new and cool rains, bend in strange winds, respond to the warmth of other suns, and perhaps to bloom.
Mm,
Richard Wright.
yeah. So, and I think that's about his experience with the
Yeah.
Great Migration as well. So it's so beautiful.
Yeah, 110%. I think that this when I think of the warmth of other suns, I think simply what Richard wrote so beautifully here that I'm sure I can't say as eloquently as he did. But this idea of the line that really strikes me is I fling into the unknown. I was taking a part of the South, and then jump to the last line, and perhaps to bloom.
Yeah.
Again, just like speaking to this idea of I'm looking to escape. I'm looking to a new dream. I'm looking to depart from the Jim Crow South and segregation and all of those things to hopefully have this new life in the North,
Right.
to hopefully have this new life outside of segregation. And once, you know, that whole thing happens, he hopes to bloom. But what you find out in the story is that while many of them do become in better predicaments and find themselves in better situations, they still hold a piece of like toughness from the South. I think Ida finds peace, but she doesn't find stability. I think Robert finds success, but he doesn't find fulfillment. Right? He's a successful doctor, but is he fulfilled? George like continues to find success, but like carries regret. And so I think just like you want to hopefully bloom in these spaces, and in many regards you may, but you still are holding a heavy burden of the South.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was very well said. I appreciate that's the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think what's also cool and interesting about what Isabel does is she opens up in the beginning with Ida. And Ida, I think she's looking out of her Chicago window or something like that. Or she's on a stoop or something, I can't recall. And the men of that time, like the gangsters, I would guess call them, were like walking down the street and they were like, "You okay, Miss Ida?" And like wanting to take care of her and recognizing that she was like a staple in the community. And Isabel does a good job of like reflecting of like, wow, look where she is now. Like this woman, older lady in the community who in this another underserved community is getting to see what are the trials that this young group of people is facing now in Chicago, and be able to reflect on what was the trials that she faced leaving Mississippi. And so I thought that was like such a cool thing to do, like show where Ida is now and show where they are now, and then take us on that journey of like how they got there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that she tells, I mean, it's such a monolithic story to tell, really, but I think she does it in a like really thoughtful, very well put together way. I also I think she interviewed like 1,200 people to make this. That's why. I mean, I think it took her 15 years to make it. So yeah, what a story. I wanted to ask you one last question about the book. Who would you recommend it for?
Everybody.
Hey, it's number 2 on the list.
Everyone needs to read this book because it's just such a beautiful telling of, you know, a group of people who built a country and who are now trying to like find their way in the country, trying to place where they fit, trying to find a place where they feel comfortable, only to recognize that, hold up, even up north, it was a little bit more comfortable, but they still didn't fit in, right? Once the Great Migration happened, white flight was immediately after. You know, redlining went up and businesses took their storefronts out of Newark, and, you know, big highways came to be, and folks were like fleeing, like, here come all these Black people all over this place. And it's just housing projects skyrocketed, infant death, like so many things happened to a point where it's just like, wait, they still didn't fit in up north. And so I think it's a good reflection moment for where we are as a country right now, to recognize that, like, let's not make the same mistakes that we did in the past. There's actually space for us all here. And so whether you're reading it to understand what happened more in history, or you're reading it to learn to build empathy, I think everybody should read it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's the number 2 on the New York Times list. So I think you're right. I wanted to take a minute to put a spotlight on you and your work and your passions, and tell us all about Adriana.
So Adriana is a reader. super reader. I read like over 100 books a year. I'm sure Gigi, you read a lot of books too, especially with this thriving podcast. You kind of have to read a lot.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. But I'm here. I'm hanging on.
I know. I can only imagine. But I'm sure, you said you're a librarian as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know you read a lot too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Adriana's a reader in I almost said my real life. In my like work life, I'm also a principal. And so I think the things that I do on Instagram, on my social media account, where I have, over 40,000 followers talking about books and talking about Black books. And then I'm a successful principal in an underserved community where my children are outperforming the state average and my children are outperforming the not economically disadvantaged group. And so that's the richest kids in the whole state of New Jersey. Mm-hmm. My kids are outperforming them by like light years. Oh. And so to be able to like take both passions and like show the world, like, look how smart these Black kids from New York are. And it's not a private school or anything. It's a regular book school. And also like have like this platform where I'm able to talk about books and partner with people like Read with Jenna and Netflix and all this kind of stuff. I'm able to just live out my life's work. And my life's work is to talk about literacy. My life's work is to allow books to be my process. My life's work is to make sure that we realize that books hold the receipts. When people try to tell your narrative and say, oh, this happened in history and spew garbage, just run the receipts. Yeah. Run the facts. The books are in the facts. And so I think that sums me up in a nutshell. Okay. I think once you start to find out who you are and why you were put here on this earth, you can move with intentionality, both in your career and both in your passion projects, and they can all be aligned. They don't have to be, but they can all be aligned. And I've been able to nicely like marry the two.
That's amazing. That's so, and I'm sorry, I just keep quoting things. There's a Dolly Parton quote that like what you just said, is find out who you are and do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Dolly Parton said that. I'm going to make sure I write that down. I'm going to use that when the next time somebody asks me.
Oh my gosh. You are busy.
Yeah, all year long. I mean, the summer times are nice, so. Okay.
Wow. Well, you have all my respect because I can see all the work you're doing and I think it's incredible. And, those kids, you're changing their lives and you're improving your community. And that's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate like the space that you're creating here. I think that we can't like lose spaces like this because once we start to lose interest in literacy, we are on a decline as a nation. Yeah. And I know we're in this big literacy crisis now. So like spaces like this and all spaces that promote like reading, whether it's for educational purposes or just for leisure, like, thank you. These are incredible spaces and do not ever stop.
Yeah. Same to you. Same to you. Absolutely. Before we sign off, where can people find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Bring Me Books. It's Bring Me _books on Instagram or on TikTok. And I think it's going to go mirrored. So I don't think it's going to work. But needless to say, my book club is called Truth Club. And so if you follow me on Instagram at Bring Me _books, follow me, you're automatically a part of my book club. And because my book club is my following. And I just recommend the nonfiction book that we're going to read that month or those next few weeks, because I do believe that we all deserve to read the truth and not listen to just the things we find on social media. Because I think somewhere it said that most folks get their news from social media nowadays, which is concerning, but needless to say.
Yeah, you and I have same concerns about things. Well, thank you so much. This has been a delight chatting with you and talking about this book. And you got me to read the book. Finally, I got it and I loved it. So it's a big one, but I loved it so much. So Adriana, thank you so much. Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Thank you so much. My tea.
I know, literally, I have like a smidge left.
Thank you for spending some time with me and my guests for an episode of Drinks in the Library. For more information about the show, you can find us on Instagram at Drinks in the Library, on the World Wide Web, drinksinthelibrary.com, or shoot me an email at drinkspod@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.